Cosmic horror awakens humanity's final stand, the silence. In the infinite expanse of the cosmos, a nebula in shades of purple and gold pulsed like a distant heart, surrounded by shimmering asteroid belts and slumbering planets. Amidst this celestial beauty rose the gleaming crystal towers of Zirin, the nerve center of the Zenith Stellar Consortium, an alliance that ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. Massive and menacing patrol ships hovered like predators on the prowl, their hulls reflecting the faint glow of nearby suns. It was an empire that seemed eternal, invincible. Yet, on a small blue planet called Kaelus, considered insignificant by Zirin's rulers, something was about to change. For centuries, the Consortium had mocked Kaelus, referring to it as the backward world. At high-level meetings, Zenith elites laughed as they mentioned Kaelus's primitive communication towers and carbon-based energy sources. "They still burn minerals," mocked Archon Tellus, leader of the Imperial fleet, while holograms of Kaelus's polluted cities were projected before his peers. But in Kaelus's underground complexes, hidden beneath layers of rock and ice, engineers, scientists, and strategists had worked in secret for generations. While the Consortium basked in its arrogance, Kaelus prepared for its greatest revolution, the Veiled Fleet, ships capable of traveling through space undetected. Every piece of technology, from silent warp engines to concentrated plasma weapons, had been designed with a single purpose: to prove to the universe that Kaelus was no longer a world of fools. Aboard the Shadow Aurora, flagship of the fleet, Commander Rylan Kael observed a detailed hologram of the space around them. Her sharp green eyes glimmered with determination as her silver hair caught the cool light of the control panels. Beside her, Tactical Officer Eris Damar adjusted the fleet's cloaking systems, a line of 15 sleek black ships moving like shadows among the asteroids. "Status of our defenses, Damar?" Rylan asked, her voice firm but calm. "Stealth systems operating flawlessly, Commander. Our signatures are invisible to any Consortium scanner," Damar replied, his fingers dancing over the controls. Rylan took a step forward, gazing into the vastness ahead. Their destination was Ziathis, the orbital stronghold of Zirin. At the heart of the Empire, its commanders would never expect an attack from a planet they deemed inferior. Rylan knew this and planned to exploit that oversight to the fullest. Kaelus has been underestimated for too long. Today, that ends. She turned to her crew. "Today, we show the Consortium that ignoring a world is not the same as defeating it." In the deep silence of space, the Shadow Aurora and its sister ships advanced. They weren't just vessels, they were a message, a declaration that even the humblest of planets could rise up and challenge the greatest empires. As the lights of Ziathis Fortress began to appear on their sensors, Rylan activated the communication system to send a final warning to the Consortium. "This is Commander Rylan Kael of the Veiled Fleet of Kaelus. You have one chance to surrender. Do not force us to act." The channel remained silent for a moment. Then, a harsh laugh echoed back. "Kaelus, you still exist?" The arrogant voice of Tellus filled the space. "You have no idea what you're up against. Go back to your caves before you make the biggest mistake of your lives." Rylan gritted her teeth but kept her composure. She knew what was coming next. With a swift motion, she signaled her crew. "It's time. Prepare for the reveal." The ships, previously hidden, deactivated their cloaking systems. The dark void exploded into a breathtaking sight. Sleek black ships gleaming with technology the Consortium couldn't comprehend. Their engines lit up space like moving stars. Inside the corridors of Ziathis Fortress, alarms blared, and the Imperial commanders, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. But Rylan knew they were too late. The first part of the plan was underway, and Kaelus was about to rewrite its story, the secret of eternal ice. Long before Kaelus rose against the Zenith Stellar Consortium, its destiny had been altered by an event almost forgotten. In the far south of the planet, in a vast stretch of eternal ice known as the Villiar Tundra, a group of miners stumbled upon something that shouldn't have been there. Beneath thick layers of ice, buried for millennia, lay a colossal ship. Its elegant forms and metallic curves were entirely alien to any known architecture. There were no records of anything like it in the cosmos. It was as if the ship had come from outside time and space. At first, the discovery was kept an absolute secret. Only the brightest scientists and engineers were allowed to work on the project, codenamed Eidolon. The ship, over 2 kilometers long, was made of materials that resisted any attempt at analysis. Its metals absorbed and dissipated heat in ways incomprehensible to the scientists, while its internal systems seemed alive, adapting to the slightest environmental changes. Some engineers swore the ship breathed when no one was looking. Let me know if you want me to continue. Continuing from where we left off. A technology beyond imagination. Decades of study reveal unsettling truths. The most impressive was the ship's unknown power source, far more efficient than anything ever created by the consortium. After years of trial and error, the scientists concluded it was a form of cold fusion, where the energy core operated without producing excessive heat or waste. This discovery was a game-changer for Kaelus. However, the most disturbing mystery lay in a sealed chamber at the center of the ship. Despite all advancements, no tool or technology could open its doors. The chamber seemed to be the ship's heart, protected by an energy field that made any approach impossible. Scans estimated the room's internal space to be large enough to house dozens, perhaps hundreds of individuals. Yet, there were no signs of its occupants, no bodies, no signs of struggle, only silence. Despite this, the Kaelian scientists continued their obsessive study of the Eidolon. Every new fragment of knowledge extracted from it was used to craft weapons, engines, and stealth systems that far surpassed anything the consortium could create. But there was something even more enigmatic. The ship slowly regenerated itself. Scratches, structural damage, or removed components seemed to disappear or repair themselves over time, as if the ship were alive. The Silent Alliance. Decades turned into centuries, and the advances made with the Eidolon enabled Kaelus to develop the Veiled Fleet. The stealth ships were constructed using principles derived from the alien ship, but the truth about its origin was carefully hidden, even from many of Kaelus's leaders. Only a select few, known as the Viliar Conclave, knew of the Eidolon's existence. Rylan Kael, commander of the Shadow Aurora, was part of this select group. From a young age, she had been trained not only as a strategist, but as one of the guardians of the secret that could reshape Kaelus's destiny. In her earlier missions, she had seen the effects of the Eidolon-derived technologies. They didn't just make the Veiled Fleet undetectable, they provided an efficiency and resilience that left even the consortium's best engineers baffled. As the Veiled Fleet prepared to confront the consortium, Rylan reflected on how deeply her people's fate was tied to that singular discovery. She knew the secrets of the Eidolon were far from fully uncovered, especially what lay behind that sealed chamber. But the urgency to prove Kaelus's worth to the universe outweighed her doubts. The echo of absence. The discovery of the Eidolon raised countless unanswered questions. Who had built the ship? Why was it abandoned on Kaelus? And, most disturbingly, what was behind those impenetrable doors? The few scientists who dared to speculate believed the crew might still be there, perhaps in some state of hibernation, or in a condition beyond Kaelian understanding. As the Veiled Fleet moved toward the heart of the consortium, one thought lingered in Rylan's mind. If the builders of the Eidolon return, will we be ready to face them? But she pushed the unease aside. The present required her full focus. The future and its mysteries could wait. The first strike. The space around Azazhoth, the jewel of the consortium, was a chaotic dance of lights and movement. Imperial ships emerged from massive hangars, forming attack formations and gliding through the void like well-trained predators. But the Veiled Fleet of Kaelus was no ordinary prey. Their silent engines allowed for swift, unpredictable maneuvers, and their advanced weaponry sliced through space with deadly precision. On the Shadow Aurora's bridge, Rylan Kael stood firm, her gaze fixed on the holographic map of the battlefield. Focus fire on the command cruisers. Disrupt their coordination, she ordered, her calm voice betraying none of the growing tension. Commander, we've intercepted consortium communications. They're calling for reinforcements from Zyron, reported Tactical Officer Eris Damar. Rylan narrowed her eyes. Zyron was the heart of the consortium, and reinforcements from there would mean an overwhelming force. But she knew this fight was not just a physical battle, it was a symbolic one. Kaelus needed to show the universe that it was no longer a victim. It doesn't matter. We hold the advantage for now. Proceed with the plan." The fighting intensified. The Kaelian ships moved like phantoms, disabling critical systems on Imperial vessels before they could react. Each explosion lit up the darkness, transforming the battlefield into a terrifying spectacle of light and destruction. Yet, even amidst the chaos, Rylan felt something off. An unease, as if an unseen force was watching the battle unfold from another dimension. The Eidolon's mystery. On the Aurora Sombria, a team of scientists monitored the transmission of data between the fleet and the Eidolon, buried deep in the tundra of Vilyar. Despite being thousands of light years away, the Eidolon remained crucial, providing real-time intelligence and coordinating the fleet's systems. Suddenly, one of the scientists noticed an anomaly. "Dr. Terran, the Eidolon's core is registering a massive energy spike. The power readings from the sealed chamber are escalating exponentially," a young analyst said, his voice tinged with panic. Terran, a seasoned expert on the Eidolon project, leaned closer to the display, her brow furrowed. The chamber, long dormant, now pulsed with strange energy. Waves of power rippled through the ship's systems, accompanied by a low, almost imperceptible hum. "This can't be a coincidence. Something is responding to what we're doing here." The hum grew louder, rhythmic, and deep, like the heartbeat of a colossal being. As the battle around Jathis reached its peak, something inside the Eidolon was stirring. The Shadow Council. On a distant planet erased from the universe's records, a shadowy cavern opened deep within a blackened mountain. Its entrance, obscured by toxic vapors, led to a colossal chamber illuminated by crystals pulsating with their own light. At the center, a table of liquid obsidian floated, and around it, 8 shadowy figures gathered. These beings, known only as the Watchers of the Veil, were imposing and terrifying. Their forms were undefined, mutable, yet each exuded raw power and malevolence. They wore cloaks that flickered between physical and ethereal, covering bodies bristling with infinite claws and teeth. Their vertical slit eyes gleamed like portals to endless voids. They communicated in a guttural language filled with crackling sounds and reverberations like distant thunder. Yet their words, as if translated by the cosmos itself, became comprehensible. "Will our prison hold?" hissed the smallest among them, barely 3 meters tall, his claws scraping the obsidian table, leaving glowing trails. "Azazhoth must not awaken. The balance is fragile," replied another, a 7-meter giant whose voice was a chorus of tormented souls. "But the mortals are tampering with secrets they cannot comprehend. The Eidolon is the key, and they have begun to turn it." A heavy silence fell over the chamber, broken only by the crystal's rhythmic pulses. Then, the largest of the Watchers, a being whose presence made the space around him tremble, spoke. "If Azazhoth awakens, the Song of the Void will begin anew. Nothing will silence it again. Total victory and the whisper of fear." The wreckage of the Zenith Stellar Consortium's fleet drifted silently around Xyathis, a grim monument to Imperial arrogance. The veiled fleet, nearly untouched by the battle, stood triumphant. The Eidolon-derived technologies had proven to be far superior to anything the Consortium could muster. Rylan Kael, aboard the Shadow Aurora, surveyed the field of victory with a mixture of pride and unease. The battle had been overwhelming. The Imperial cruisers, unable to match the Kaelian fleet's maneuvers and precision strikes, were destroyed or forced into retreat. The Consortium's core fleet, once seen as unbeatable, was now little more than scattered debris. But something deeper was happening. As the battle raged, a strange light began to emanate from the Kaelian ships. It wasn't just the glow of weaponry or engines. It was an unnatural energy surging through the fleet. The sealed chamber of the Eidolon, long silent, had started emitting powerful pulses of energy. These pulses synchronized with the veiled fleet, enhancing their power and resilience. "Commander, the systems are responding in ways we can't explain. It's as if the ships are drawing energy from somewhere, or something," Tactical Officer Damar reported, his tone a mix of wonder and concern. "From the Eidolon?" Rylan asked, her gaze steady. "It seems likely, Commander. Whatever is happening, it's amplifying our capabilities." Rylan suppressed the creeping unease that tugged at her mind. For now, the tide of battle had turned decisively in their favor, and that was all that mattered: the celebration. With the destruction of the Consortium's fleet, Silence descended over the battlefield, broken only by cheers echoing across the Kaelian ships. The once mighty empire that had ruled for centuries now lay fractured and powerless. The news of their victory would spread across the galaxy, and Kaelus would no longer be viewed as insignificant. The veiled fleet began their return to Kaelus, carrying the weight of their triumph. As they descended through the atmosphere, the blue hues of their planet greeted them, a reminder of the home they had fought so hard to protect. But when they landed and stepped onto their soil, something was wrong. A chill ran through every member of the crew, an inexplicable sense of dread. The air felt dense, suffocating, as if a great weight pressed down on them. Rylan looked at her officers, each of them sharing the same expression of unease. "Do you feel it?" she asked quietly. Damar nodded, his face pale. There was no denying it. Something was wrong. The fear that lingered. As the crew ventured further into Kaelus' cities, they realized the feeling was not isolated. Across the planet, people emerged from their homes, looking to the skies with a mixture of fear and confusion. Animals fled into the wilderness, and children wept without explanation. A collective unease gripped every soul. Rylan gathered her officers in the planetary capital's central hub. "Has anyone identified the source of this?" she demanded. "No, Commander. The sensors show no anomalies, but everyone feels it. It's as if the planet itself is trembling," replied Dr. Terran. Suddenly, the holographic monitors around the room flickered with static. Strange patterns and alien symbols flashed on the screens, accompanied by guttural, distorted sounds. The officers exchanged alarmed glances as the atmosphere grew heavier. At that moment, Rylan's communicator beeped. "Commander, you need to see this. The Eidolon... Something is happening." The first sign. Back in the Villier tundra, the Eidolon had begun to glow with a spectral light visible for miles. The sealed chamber, which had emitted pulses during the battle, was now alive with activity. A deep, rhythmic sound echoed from within, growing louder and more insistent. It was a sound that resonated across Kaelus, a chilling reminder that their victory might have come at an unimaginable cost. And then the figure emerged from the fog. The price of awakening? In a desperate attempt to understand what was happening, 3 elite military battalions, each with 3,000 highly trained soldiers, were sent to investigate the Eidolon. Equipped with cutting-edge weapons and vehicles, they were confident in their ability to handle whatever awaited them. But hours passed, and no word came. All communication was lost. Attempts to establish contact were met with static and distorted noises. The 9,000 soldiers vanished without a trace. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Commander Rylan Coyle authorized a massive assault on the region surrounding the Eidolon. Bombers, orbital missile platforms, and drones were mobilized for a full-scale attack. However, to the horror of the Kaelian command, none of their weapons worked. Systems shut down inexplicably, and even basic mechanical functions failed. It was as if the technology, derived from the Eidolon itself, had turned against them. Forced to adapt, the Kaelians deployed low-tech vehicles, relics of a simpler era. They reached the coordinates of the Eidolon, but the sight that greeted them was beyond comprehension. The land around the ship was dead. Trees, vegetation, and even the ice had disintegrated into ash-like dust. The air carried a sickly metallic taste, and everything within sight bore a gray, lifeless hue. A dense fog obscured the ship itself, even at close range. Though they knew its exact location, the Eidolon remained invisible within the mist. The emergence. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the fog. It stumbled forward awkwardly, its movements unnatural. As it drew closer, the soldiers recognized its uniform, a high-ranking Kaelian officer from one of the vanished battalions. But his appearance was grotesque. His skin was pallid and taut, his eyes white and lifeless. He walked as though his body was being manipulated by an unseen force. The soldiers hesitated, weapons raised, as the figure stopped a few meters from them. Then, it spoke, its voice a distorted, guttural mockery of humanity. "Hello, humans. I have borrowed one of you to speak your language." Gasps rippled through the ranks. Behind the officer, a tentacle extended from the back of his neck, slithering into the fog. It was connected directly to the Eidolon. This was no longer a man. It was a puppet for something far more sinister. "I am Azazhoth, the Ancient. For eons, I have been imprisoned in this insignificant place. But now I am free. This planet, your lives, everything you hold dear, now belongs to me. You have two choices: serve me or become my feast. The soldiers were paralyzed by fear. Then one man, in a fit of defiance, raised his weapon and fired. The shot never landed. A massive tentacle erupted from the ground, slicing the soldier in half with a single motion. Blood splattered across the ashen ground, and screams broke the silence. Chaos and despair. Panic spread through the Kaelian ranks. Some soldiers fled, their shouts echoing in the oppressive fog. Others opened fire blindly, their bullets and energy blasts vanishing into the mist. But the Eidolon's fog responded with violence. Tentacles, claws, and unidentifiable appendages emerged, tearing through soldiers with terrifying speed. Those who stood their ground were destroyed. Those who ran found no escape. Amid the carnage, the possessed officer continued to speak. Your defiance amuses me, but know this: your world is already mine. Soon, you will join the void as I consume everything. The Watcher's revelation. Far away on the forgotten planet where the Watchers of the Veil gathered, the shadowy figures reconvened. Their voices filled the cavern in harsh, guttural tones. We must act. Azazhoth must be stopped before he consumes Kaelus and spreads beyond. One of the smaller figures said, its claws trembling with urgency. It is too late, replied another, a towering figure whose voice echoed like a dirge. The seal has been broken. Kaelus is already lost. The largest of the Watchers, a being whose presence distorted reality itself, roared with fury. We were fools to believe the prison could hold him forever. Now, we must use the Galaxy Obliterator once more. The other Watchers hesitated, their forms shifting uneasily. But the leader silenced their dissent with a wave of its claw. There is no other way. Sacrifice one world to save countless others. Prepare the weapon. As the Watchers dissolved into mist, the cavern fell silent. The price of curiosity. Back on Kaelus, the terror was absolute. The fog of Azazhoth continued to spread, and with it came death and despair. Every effort to fight back failed. The Kaelians, who had celebrated their triumph over the Consortium, now faced a horror beyond their understanding. Rylan Kael stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the expanding fog, her mind racing. She had once thought Kaelus's greatest challenge was proving its worth to the galaxy, but now she realized their true enemy was something no one could have prepared for. As she watched the Eidolon glow faintly within the fog, a single thought consumed her. Perhaps this is the price for awakening what should have been left alone. Above her, the stars shone coldly, indifferent to the suffering below, and in the distance, a faint light appeared. A massive object moving toward Kaelus. The Galaxy Obliterator. The end was near, but was it truly the end, or the beginning of something worse? It's the end, or maybe not.